All right, welcome back, everybody. It's a week 7 update, and a couple exciting things happened this week. I filled my second buck tag on the 12th, and just last night, Amy got her beautiful 10-pointer on the 17th, the evening of the 17th. So we're going to go into that. But I do want to talk about, I got Gummy European mounted, did that myself, and I just got him done, so we'll put him down in the trophy room. And then we'll talk about what this shed, how we found this shed too. So, but let's go right into after Amy's hunt. When we talk about Amy's hunt, then we're going to go right into the footage from this week. Where there's not actually going to be a lot because Amy shot her deer and I shot my deer, so there was a lot of celebration and not necessarily a lot of hunting. So, but last night you guys went out and sat the stand we call South Fence Jump. And the reason, or South Ditch, we call it South Fence and South Ditch. And what's nice about this spot is it's both. It's a ditch crossing that goes right by the stand, and there's also a fence jump in there. And when we bought this farm, remember, Forrest, that was, you found a shed.
The first time we walked it.
The first time we walked this farm, Forrest found a big, I think it was a 10-point.
But it was in like November.
Yeah.
It was a fresh shed. It was really weird.
Yeah. And it was right where this fence jump was. And I remember we found that shed. We were looking around. There's this big honey locust tree. And we're like, we're putting a stand there. But so anyways, South Ditch Crossing, South Fence Jump. You guys got in there. Jessica and I went last night over to our cabin farm. And it was primarily a observation sit. Trying to kind of like, I know it's early, but getting ready for late muzzleloader for Lily. And then we thought, well, if I get a really good chip shot at a doe or something like that, I'll take it. And we saw a few deer, and I think I got video of one little buck. But you guys went to South Ditch, and it wasn't long, and you were seeing deer. So let's just kind of talk about when your buck came in.
I think we were only there about 40 minutes, and Forrest heard some rubbing.
Pretty obvious raking and rubbing.
And I thought, I've been sitting there in that area for like the last 3 hunts. I sat there with Lily and our brother-in-law Anthony, and I've been seeing a nice, mature 4-year-old buck, but his antlers are not he's not great.
Yeah, he's like 120-inch, just a giant bodied 10-pointer, but just nothing that
gets you excited.
To be honest, it's nothing you're just going to get overly pumped up about.
But he's been in that draw.
Yes.
Almost every time I've hunted it, he's been in that draw. So when Forrest heard the rubbing, I thought for sure maybe that was that buck. And so I was telling Forrest about the buck.
That you've been seeing it every time you sit there and everything, yeah.
But then he said, Mommy's coming right down. Tom has a mowed path along the...
I saw him come out of the switchgrass that you had planted in the bottom. And then he was working the field of the cut corn.
Yep. So I got my bow ready, and we were hoping that he was going to come right by the stand, but we weren't sure. So I was kind of like prepared to shoot on both sides.
There's a stand of switchgrass there, and it's like 6 feet tall. It's cave and rock switchgrass. So when those deer work that field edge, you either go high above this tree house, we call it, which is bad. And then otherwise they go low, and when they come low right in front of this mock scrape in the camera, it's a chip shot.
Yeah.
And that's what he did.
I mean, it was perfect.
Yeah, it happened really fast, but he did exactly what he was supposed to do.
And Forrest stopped him for me 20 yards away. He stopped, and I had my bow ready and shot him. Up and down, it was a good shot, but we noticed that I hit him a little back, but we watched him for... I don't know, another 10 minutes. He ran off maybe another 20 yards from there. Behind some brush, I couldn't get another shot at him, but we watched him, and he was bleeding pretty good.
And he laid down.
And
that was the main thing. And so then right away, right, on the phones.
Yeah.
And we're like, just let him go. Just wait till you can sneak out.
Right.
Yeah, he stood up a few times and rebedded back down, but we waited until he was for sure in a spot where he couldn't see us, which was about 20 minutes before quitting time, or sunset even. And that's when we got down then when we knew we could sneak out of there. Mm-hmm. We grabbed our arrow because it was where the deer ended up going. We didn't have to intrude on anything to grab the arrow. So I grabbed the arrow and we got out of there.
So we're just going to take it up. I'll show some footage of obviously we didn't film that hunt because I had the camera last night. But this morning we went back out and recovered the deer, and I took a little bit of footage. So let's just go right into that.
I could have put him maybe another later on.
You want to go
It's
get one?
freaking cold.
I said we were supposed to wait till 9 or 10.
You said 8.
I said 8.
Yeah.
Use the park.
So we waited until the next day, I think about 8 o'clock, when we went out. We knew the hit was back. Wishbone and Forrest both saw the hit was back. So the deer had bedded down and then got up and then bedded down again, and they snuck out. So we were confident we were going to find the deer right there. The key is letting it sit so you find it. So this spot right here is where Amy killed that doe early in the season with that buck fawn, where we're walking through right now.
That's those same deer there.
So just to the right on the screen here is that really small pocket of bedding switchgrass. Stand is up to the left. And there's a mowed path on the back side of that switchgrass and in front of it. So this stand sets up really good for a northeast wind. It's the south side of that ditch. There's an old mock scrape. It's not being used anymore. I didn't clear the ground out beneath it. So right where Wishbone is standing, to her right is that trail. And I try to film it here, but that sun's coming in the camera pretty hard. So I mow the back side of that switchgrass, and the deer follow that.
And her hair was buried back in there. In through this hole.
So there again is the stand location. I got some Christmas tree pine boughs put up in there. That stand really needs to be brushed in a little bit better. And we have a mock scrape here with a camera on it. It's actually a cell camera. And that deer, after it was shot, went right down this path. And we do have one picture. Actually, we had 4 pictures of it. This is one of the pictures. Total coincidence, but you can see the exit wound here, and it is back. So that's what kind of confirmed that we needed to let this deer go. So there's decent blood trail, but we're kind of going fast here because we know the deer bedded down about 50 yards up ahead. So we're kind of making our way to that spot. And right here is kind of the last spot that Forrest saw the deer, and it was starting to head kind of northeast toward this ditch. So right in front of Wishbone there, I'm thinking that's probably where the deer is. It's probably down in the bottom of that ditch, is my guess. It probably tried crossing the ditch and couldn't make it up. So as they're looking for like the next blood, I'm holding the video camera and I'm looking off to my left and I see it.
Binoculars, look at him. Is that him?
On there yet?
Is that his belly?
Yeah, he's down.
Is that him?
You can see these ditches where we're hunting here are pretty substantial. And obviously a deer can cross any one of these ditches in any spot. But they prefer to cross in the easy spots. So what I'll even sometimes do is take the bucket on the tractor and taper off a spot so it's not this steep. And that'll create a better ditch crossing. But I just wanted to show, you can see that fence is hanging up over that ditch crossing. I wanted to show this footage just so you guys show when I talk about ditch crossings and fence jumps. These are the ditches we're talking about. the bigger and the steeper and the deeper the ditch, the better the ditch crossing to funnel deer.
There he is, Amy.
He stopped a few spots here with blood all over it.
He bedded right there, huh? Make sure he's dead.
That isn't the one you filmed.
Nope.
Look at the bases on there.
That's a big buck, Amy.
Good job, Forrest.
Good job, you.
That's a cough. Get behind that.
Put your bow down.
Put your bow on and get behind that thing.
He's nice.
This is kind of cool.
It is cool. See, you got a little point starting there.
That's a big mature buck.
And you've never seen that one.
Nope. So that's two bucks back to back now. You know, peak breeding to the backside of breeding that came in.
I know.
You know.
He's actually got good mass, like Mom said.
Forrest gets behind it. Yeah.
I think we'll probably take better pictures.
And where was the shot? The shot was a little bit back.
It was way back.
I guess it was back pretty good.
It was obviously not what I wanted.
Up and down, perfect.
You know,
Yeah.
up and down perfect, but
Needed to be way
a good
up
foot
here.
back. But we let him go overnight. And when we found him this morning, he was gone.
One of the best parts about deer camp is having friends and family in, and that's what happened the other night. Jessica and I went and sat at the cabin farm on basically an observation hunt, getting ready for Lily's late muzzleloader season. And it wasn't long, and Forrest was calling to say that Amy, aka Wishbone, had just shot a good buck, and he followed the script. He worked the edge of the corn, came down through that mowed path of the switchgrass, and was headed right towards the fence jump when Amy got a shot at him. I'm really proud and happy for Amy. She puts a lot of work and effort into her archery season. This is her second archery buck. Big mature, I guess, mainframe 10-pointer. And she really earned this deer. Congratulations, Amy.
So that was a really exciting night last night. Jessica and I don't think we got settled in at the cabin farm. It's a half hour away, and then it's a lot longer walk. But we just got in there, and my phone's ringing, and it's Forrest telling me they got this deer. But that's your biggest bull buck. It's only your second bull buck.
Second buck with my bow. Ever.
With your bow. And the ending of the story is kind of when we're dragging it out, when Forrest and I are dragging it out, because we didn't gut it there or anything like that. We kind of stumbled on that guy.
Yeah. So as many of you people know, when you're dragging out a deer, I mean, especially a big deer like yours where it late weighs a lot, you got two people on there and you're dragging it. So Dad and I are dragging it out at first, because obviously these two finished. When we're dragging it out, we got to a point where we had to maneuver around a log, and both of our heads are down, because we're putting everything we got into this thing. And I don't know if you can see on the video, but his tines are clearly a lot more white about this point up. Our faces were about 6 inches away from that because it was tall grass, and that's all we could see up, and both of us at the same time were like, oh! And I immediately grabbed it, and I stole it from Dad because it's mine, obviously. I want to keep it.
But to me, what? So this is a pretty nice 8-point shed, and I'm gonna recognize a deer like that, but I didn't. So this afternoon, I went and looked at the footage from late muzzleloader last year, which is where this would be, and I have this buck. So he came through this fence opening. So we talk about fences all the time, and he's a pretty good 8-point, pretty good mass and stuff. And I got him late season muzzleloader. So
what's cool though is that on the video, which I'm sure you're gonna show here, he does not look like this.
No.
Like mass wise, I mean, this isn't a huge mass deer, but good mass, and on that video, it just doesn't look like
No, it looks like a spindly wide 8-pointer, but that's a decent.
It tells you, like, when you find the actual antler or you walk up on the deer, it looks a lot different than what you see in video, too. I mean, because this doesn't look I mean, it's clearly the same deer, but it's just a lot more there than you thought on the video.
Yep.
And the guys were so excited over this shed that Amy and I had to finish dragging the deer out for them.
We did. Look at she can do it by herself. Oh, good. Did. But that's what these muscles are for, right?
We trained all season for this deer kill.
Right.
Now we'll go right into the little bit of footage I have this week, and then we'll come back and I'll wrap it up for some thoughts about how we're going to proceed, what Amy and I are going to basically do for the next couple weeks here for early archery season.
So like I said before, not much footage this week besides my kill on the 12th and Wishbone's kill on the 17th. This is some footage from my hunt, completely unedited. We'll take a look. So after my kill, I instantly went into backing off, not putting any pressure on our deer, and doing observation sits for Amy. So here's a decent buck, good buck. I mean, this is 300 yards in an observation sit. This might even be the next night. And I really can't tell how big that buck is until he walks 300 yards away and comes right up by me. I mean, he's not a shooter, but he's a nice buck. And once you know it, right through a fence jump. Right where he's going right now is a fence jump along this edge of cedars. I wanted to film this water hole because I did a video earlier in the year about this water hole, and it's just about out of water. I need to put some more dirt around the edge too to cover up that liner. This is the night that Jessica and I sat out at the cabin farm. We saw this. Must be like a 2-year-old 8-pointer. And this is the night when Wishbone shot her buck with Forrest behind the house. And I think this is the very next night we went back to the cabin farm. You see that blind right there? Forrest and Jessica are sitting in that blind. Total observation sit. And then Amy and I are sitting a couple hundred yards away in this blind observation sit. And I'll shoot a doe here if I really get a really good shot. And we do see this really nice, I would call this an adolescent buck. It's a 2 or 3-year-old buck. But boy, he's got a nice frame on him. That's a beautiful deer. And I have a ton of pictures of him this fall at the cabin farm. Mainframe 8. What's he got there? Sticker on his right main beam. Looks like he might have a sticker starting on his left G2. I should say his right G2 and his left G2. That's a hell of a buck. This reminds me a lot of Hugo when I saw him last year during late muzzleloader. And then Joel killed him. And I'll say the same thing here. I mean, that's going to be a hell of a buck next year. But I think he's 2 or 3, probably 3. Because you can see his shoulders are starting to get a little bit bigger than his rump. But that was pretty cool to see him. It was so quiet that night that any noise at all. I think there was just a little bit of one of us moving, Amy and I moving, and he picked up that sound. But he's out cruising. Look at that. That's a pretty buck. So he saw one other buck or two other bucks, but I couldn't get any footage. I couldn't hardly move. I could film this buck that night because he walked right in front of the blind. But when I'm doing these observation sits, my main goal is just to obviously observe. The last thing I want to do is have a deer bust me. I mean, those G2s got to be 10 or 11 inches tall already. That's going to be a hell of a deer next year.
So thanks again for joining me. For Amy and I, that was a fun week 7. Forrest and Jessica were down for part of the week, and I got my second archery buck. Amy got her archery buck. It was a pretty fun week. Kind of bittersweet. I want to kill a big buck every year or even 2, but I don't like my season ending as early as it did. I got about a couple, 2-3 weeks here yet. I could be hunting yet. But with Lily's late muzzleloader hunt coming up in, what are we at here, about 5 weeks, my goal will be to possibly do some observation sits for her, possibly shoot a doe, but really just to back off. So I probably won't be doing a week 8 or 9 or 10 update. I will probably try and circle around back and give a kind of summary of why I think Wishbone and I were successful this year for our archery season. I'll try and circle back and give some thoughts on that. I might do a video on scent control. I got some other ideas to do some videos between now and late muzzleloader. But there won't be any more weekly updates. If I do sit out, I'll bring that to you if I see any more nice bucks or something like that with some of my other videos coming forward. But thanks for following along this archery season, and look for some late muzzleloader updates here right around Christmas time-ish. And thanks for watching. It's been a fun 2023 archery season.